say you're looking for a job and you're not seeing any luck. You're sending out your applications and you're just not seeing any responses. It's always good to reach out to a recruiter. They also do have insights and knowledge they can share with you to maybe make your application seen. So a recruiter like myself, I'll look at, the experience that you have. I'll look at your interests and your passions and your strengths. And then from there, I can use my knowledge to help guide you a little bit more in what types of roles that you'd be successful in and that you'd enjoy. And also what types of roles are hot in the market and are needed right now. I think that is one of our biggest, downfalls as humans, is that we get so comfortable and so satisfied. And we never want to step out of that comfort zone, but that's actually what's going to make us grow. So it's taking that one step and being like, you know what? An in-person event is a little bit scarier, which I have had to do. And I'm like, oh, I'm not sure about this. But in the end, you do grow so much from it. The more active you are on LinkedIn, whether it's connecting with people of interest, looking and sharing posts, your account gets viewed more and it comes up higher on activity on LinkedIn recruiters. Recruiters will see your profile and then will reach out to you for roles.
Welcome to another episode of Marketing Over Chai. Today I have
Melanie McQueen,
Torontonian recruiter with a background in neuroscience and psychology. She even has a marketing degree, but chooses to do the recruitment. I'm so happy to have her here today because we're going to learn a lot. Welcome, Melanie. I'm happy to have you here on Marketing Over Chai. How are you feeling?
Hi, Kate. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm very excited to be here on your podcast with you. It's always a pleasure being able to connect and being able to share my experience and my knowledge. As Kate mentioned, I'm a recruiter at Summit Search Group. I've been recruiting for around 3 years. I do all types of roles across all industries and in all levels.
That's perfect. So let's dive in and find out about her career journey. So you've got a very interesting background with neuroscience and psychology and marketing, which is my life's passion. It's very unique. What inspired you to get into recruiting?
Very interesting story. I actually fell into it. So when I was in university, I was doing a dual degree in neuroscience and psychology, and I was aspiring to be a doctor, actually. So I was applying for my master's. I was going to pursue psychology, become a psychiatrist or a psychologist. And during that time, it was during COVID. So I had the tough decision to either decide to do my clinical online or take a pause from school and focus more on my work life at that point in time. So I got a contract position with Summit Search Group, and I essentially fell in love with the ability to use my knowledge in terms of my degree with neuroscience and psychology and connecting the candidates with that dream job by using the soft skills and those skills that go beyond a resume. So I found a lot of connections between my degree. The reason why I also have that marketing degree there too is I knew in school that I was going to be in business one way or another. I think in today's job market, it's good just to have that underlying knowledge, and what better route than to go the marketing route. And in this time too, I've actually added another degree. So I do have a human resources degree now as well. So I have neuroscience, psychology, marketing, and HR.
Wow. That is beautiful. You're like priming yourself up to be CEO.
I just love school. I love learning. It's a continuous thing for me for sure.
And thank you for sharing all of that with us. So diving right in, how would you describe today's job market? What should candidates know about it?
Oh, it's a tough market out there for sure. I think when I first started recruitment, and again, that was during COVID, and I think we all know there was that mass point in recruiting and in hiring. So companies were really open to hiring new individuals. There was a lot of activity. And then since then, unfortunately, we've gone in a little bit of a recession. So I would say in 2024, there has been a significant decrease in hiring. Companies are laying off. So it's a very competitive market out there. It's a really hard time to be looking for a role. And also with the rise of technology, specifically AI, I think it's also had a large shift in the way that we work and the types of roles that are offered out there. So a lot of roles are being automated through AI, and then there's a need for a different type of role now with the rise of this type of technology. So it's a difficult market. It's not very active right now, and it is shifting. So I always like to tell candidates to stay up to date on this and to read what's happening and to look at the news, because again, it's been changing very drastically year over year.
Yeah, it has been a very different year for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Is simply applying to a job enough in today's market?
Unfortunately, I would say no. And it comes with, again, the changes in the job market. So I think when you look at, if you're applying to a job on LinkedIn, let's say, you'll see it'll say 200 to 300 applicants. And it's a scary number. It's a lot. Even the amount of applicants that I have to go through on a daily basis, there's hundreds. So it could be enough. However, I would utilize other tips and techniques in your job search, opposed from just post and pray and hope that your application is going to be seen. Utilize other ways, and we can dive into that if you want, but looking at other ways and techniques to be seen in your job search.
Yeah, that is what we will get to and what we need to know. But before that, how and when should candidates work with a recruiter?
Oh, I love that question. I would say, so I'm going to have a couple instances here. So one is, let's say you're looking for a job and you're not seeing any luck. You're sending out your applications and you're just not seeing any responses. It's always good to reach out to a recruiter, whether it's from an agency or maybe a TA person from the organization, and have that connection. They also do have insights and knowledge that they can share with you to maybe make your application seen. I would say, if you're looking for a job, but you're not really sure about what you're looking for, it's you have some experience, you're not too sure where you'd like to take your career, recruiters are able to kind of guide you in the right direction. So a recruiter like myself, I'll look at, the experience that you have. I'll look at your interests and your passions and your strengths. And then from there, I can use my knowledge to help guide you a little bit more in what types of roles that you'd be successful in and that you'd enjoy. And also what types of roles are hot in the market and are needed right now. I would say, additionally, when you are looking for a niche role, so if you're looking for a very specific type of role that isn't seen very often, for instance, administration jobs or customer service jobs are a lot more easy to find than if you're looking at a scientist type of role, or anything within kind of like a more data specific role. So again, when you are looking for a really niche and particular role, reach out to recruiters that actually specialize within that industry, and they can kind of guide you as to what organizations are hiring, or just give you a little bit more insight into those types of positions. And lastly, I would say, when you're not looking, it's always good to have connection with a recruiter, because I always say, you never know what opportunity might cross your desk that might excite you, even if you weren't looking for a new role. So all in all, it's always good just to have a connection with a recruiter or with a couple recruiters, because they will keep your name in mind for any opportunities that, might interest you. But then they'll also be able to provide you with that ongoing knowledge of the job market and of the different types of roles to kind of give you that inside scoop.
And over the last year, I did a podcast on marketing, and I spoke to different people at different levels of marketing. And what I realized is we tend to get like horse blinders on because we're doing like one particular thing in the field, but my skills are so transferable. As a marketer, you realize there's not only like within the field of marketing across industries, but there's change management, there's, a lot of other things which require the same skill set. So yeah, I think getting that kind of feedback and, realizing those avenues exist is something you can't do on your own. You have to have conversations. Exactly. And getting a recruiter is probably the best way to fast track that research.
Exactly. And giving you kind of that the fresh set of eyes, because again, like, let's take marketing as an example, and you think that is the only strength you may have or the only pathway for you, but there's so many different avenues you can explore. Like, let's take my education and my career path as an example. Like, there's a lot of transferable skills between different types of roles. So utilizing that to your advantage, and having, again, that recruiter being that extra set of eyes and saying, have you thought about maybe, communications? Or have you thought about, more branding types of roles? Or maybe you're used to more of a marketing communications job, but now with the rise of technology and AI, let's focus more on that digital marketing side and look at what avenues to pursue there. So again, kind of giving you that direction based on what you're looking for, but then also what is needed in the market today.
Yep, that's the missing link, I think, that most job seekers, that's the information we need and want, right?
Yeah.
Moving to our next section, which is called Myth or Must Do. Now, if there's one thing job seekers get a lot of, it's bad advice, unsolicited advice. So in this segment, we want to bust those myths and learn what's true and not true anymore. So I'm going to read out a sentence, and Melanie's going to tell us if it's a myth or a must-do. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm excited.
Just walk in with your resume and ask to speak with the manager.
Both. I would say it's not It's not a myth, but it doesn't work like that anymore. So the reason I say this is because it's good to send your resume to a manager and ask if there's any opportunities available. So yes, I wouldn't say walking into an organization, like into their offices, but absolutely 100% a way in which I've received actually I've gone in contact with most of my previous employers and I've gotten a lot of my jobs is just through sending my resume over email and saying, hey, look, I'm interested in your organization. I like the work you do. Do you have any openings available? So it's kind of similar, but it's just giving it a little bit more of that modernized approach of doing it online, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, it's like adapting it for today. So perfect.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, number 2. Your resume should only be 1 page.
Myth
Okay.
and must do again, because if you're 5 years of experience or lower, 1 page is enough. It does not need to be more than that. However, if you are at a senior level and you have more than 5 years experience, like manager, director, VP, C-suite, then I would say up to 2 pages. It should never be longer than 2 pages, but it just depends on the leveling there. So again, the more junior ones, like 5 years and under, 1 page. Anything above 5 years, I would say you can go up to 2 pages.
Perfect. Number 3, tailor every application.
Myth. It doesn't need to be tailored as long as it's still if it's still relevant to the role, that's totally fine. If you do want to give it a more customized approach, just throw it into ChatGPT or another AI software that'll do it quickly for you. But do not spend your time customizing every single application. It'll just be a waste of time at that point.
Perfect. I think I need to hear this. Number 4. If you haven't heard back, just call them repeatedly and follow up.
Myth. I would say 1 follow-up tops. So send your application out. If you haven't heard back from a week or 2 weeks, follow up. Otherwise, you don't continue to follow up. It might just honestly get to be a little bit of a hassle. So I would say 1 follow-up tops.
Perfect. Leverage LinkedIn like a pro.
Absolutely. Must do. That is my number 1. I say this to candidates. I say this to friends and family. LinkedIn is your best friend. It is honestly just as important as your resume. Leverage as much as possible, and populate it. So post, engage with people, like, comment, share, make your profile seen. It's so important.
Agreed. Number 6, send your resume to every company. You'll eventually land something.
Myth, I wouldn't say every company, but companies of interest, absolutely. Coming back to what I said previously, even if they're not even hiring, send your resume if it's someone that looks interesting to you. Not everywhere, but if it's within that, where you're looking for, within that industry, for sure.
Perfect. If you dress for success, you'll get the job.
Must do. I do think that the way you portray yourself does say a lot about your professionalism and your polish and showing that you're there and you're committed and you're showing that initiative. It makes a difference. Suppose if you're just showing up and you haven't put that effort in, I do think that does go a long way.
Okay. Networking is king.
Must do. Networking is up there with the LinkedIn profile. Our job market has a lot to do with networking nowadays. Utilize LinkedIn to your advantage when doing so, but make those connections with everyone of importance who you think that, has an interesting job, or you think that their career trajectory is somewhere where you would want to take yours. Absolutely network with them.
Perfect. Stay at the same company for decades. That's how you build your career and loyalty.
Myth. I wouldn't say for decades. Stay with your company as long as possible. Honestly, it's the job jumping. It's the amount of time that it takes you to relearn a new role or to get yourself settled in. You're better off staying at the same company, but just showing that you want to continue growing and having those conversations with your managers.
Perfect. Showcase your personal brand.
Must do. Absolutely. Going up there with the networking and with the LinkedIn profile, I always say you're more than a job. You need to look after your career. And the only person who's going to build your career is yourself with your personal branding. So go above and beyond your job for sure.
Your degree guarantees your job.
Myth. I think nowadays in today's job market, the degree coming from me with 4 degrees, it is totally a myth. There's so many roles nowadays that don't even require any post-secondary education. Experience is way more important, way more sought after than education. So I would say for sure a myth.
Okay. Thank you. We've gone through those questions in that segment, and now we're going to dive into the job search So grab your pen and paper because you're going to want to take notes for this. What do you wish every candidate understood about the hiring process before they even applied for a job?
Question. I would say understanding the process in itself. So the job process nowadays is much more lengthy and extensive than it had been previously, I would say 10 years ago. So even if your application does get through and you land that interview, there's multiple steps from there. So it's a screening call, it's a virtual interview. There might be some assessments in there depending on the type of role or personality assessments. I see that a lot nowadays. We're going a lot more into skill-based hiring, which is more of those personality assessments versus what's on your resume. So the assessments and then in-person interviews. So it does take a couple of weeks. It is a process. I wouldn't say look at that as a disadvantage. I would say this is really, not only is it helping the organization identify if you're a fit, but it's also helping you understand if you're going to be a fit for the company. It helps you have more opportunities to meet with the hiring managers to assess what their culture is like and their ways of working. And from there, you kind of have a better idea too, if you can see yourself there long term. So see it as an advantage for both yourself and the employer. But yeah, it is lengthy. It does take a couple of weeks nowadays.
Yeah, I applied for one job which had like 5 rounds, and at the end of it, I was like one of 2 candidates, and I didn't make it. So it was like, I know, it was heartbreaking, but I love the company and I've kept in touch, and who knows, you know?
They do circle back. So I've seen that on so many occasions where there'll be 2 finalist candidates or 3, and down the road, let's say another job opens up, they will keep you top of mind. So even though you don't get the job at that point in time, don't be discouraged, because trust me, I see it all the time on a daily basis. They circle back on candidates. There's a new role that's open. It actually happened to me this morning.
Wow.
So don't get discouraged and just see that as it was a learning opportunity. You had the chance to make connections with people, and it's just going to build your network over time. So don't be discouraged if that happens.
Yeah, that's good to know that they circle back, because sometimes I think people get like very dejected. But yeah, I kind of started working in Mumbai where the competition is like extremely high. So I kind of grew thick skin over the years.
Good.
It still kind of hurts, but not as bad. Like, I mean, yeah, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
But
it's
I can imagine. Yeah. And I also learned that you can't put all your hope in like one job.
No, yeah.
Until everything's signed, like treat everything like it's the first interview.
Yeah. I always say, like, nothing is official until it's on paper, even if it's a verbal offer. Never put all of your eggs in one basket. It's sad. And it's, I wish that it wasn't this hard, but the more that the candidates understand that for themselves, the better they can look after themselves, because there's no better advocate for you than yourself.
True. So matching the right candidate to the right role is definitely not going to be easy, especially since you've got like so many people applying for like one job. I'm sure at some point it's like you're comparing likes, and there's like very little differentiation. Can you share what factors you prioritize to ensure a good fit for both parties?
I like this question because this is what I really pride myself on in my recruitment, is that I use my neuroscience and psychology degree to my advantage in my recruitment. And what I do is I like to look beyond what's written on a resume. So if I'm looking at a role, let's say like an EA type of position, so executive assistant, all the candidates are pretty much going to be coming with the same experience, right? It's going to be very much like very similar. What I like to do is I like to look beyond that. So I like to cross-reference what that organization's, what their core values are, their mission. And then I look at every candidate and what are their ambitions? So where would they like to take their career? What's important to them beyond the role? So looking at the culture fit, looking at their values, their mission, and then being able to match that as best as possible, because that's what's going to make a long-term fit. That's what's going to make the candidate happy in their role and just provide for better job satisfaction overall. So I think honestly, the number one most important thing is that culture fit.
Mm-hmm. You've worked with like many organizations and candidates, and there are any common traits or behaviors that you see in successful candidates across all of these?
I would say first and foremost is successful candidates always come prepared and organized and punctual. They're aware that they have a meeting coming up. They've done research on the company and on the role. Maybe they have some questions ready. They've done research on the individual who will be interviewing them or the hiring manager. So they have that genuine interest in the role and in the position. So they're showing their devotion and dedication. Beyond that, I would also just say communication skills and ability to build and maintain relationships is important too. And that just comes with any job. So being able to communicate your ideas, being able to do it respectfully, being able to do it, again, professionally, and then being able to make those connections with people, and even finding ways of, if you're being interviewed by a hiring manager, what are some common interests? Maybe you went to the same school or you held a similar role, and being able to tie that together to make more of a personal connection.
Yeah, it does boil down to people you would like to work with, because the job pool is so big.
Mm-hmm.
Almost anyone can do the job at this level. Like there's so much competition. So you want to really like vibe with,
yes.
And it goes both ways, right? Like I want a manager whom I would enjoy to work with, because I spend more time there than at home. So I'd like to enjoy it.
Yeah. And I always say to candidates, I was like, you interview the company and the hiring manager just as much as they're interviewing you. So you want to make sure it's a good fit for you. It has to be a good fit for both parties, or it won't be a successful job like relationship, if that makes sense.
That's so true. But going back to some tips on the job process and, what should candidates do? What do you want us to know? Like how can we help ourselves work with you?
So I'm going to start from the beginning.
Okay.
And I'm going to start the application process. So like I had mentioned previously, just applying isn't enough. So one of my key tips is always to reach out directly to either the hiring manager or the recruiter linked on the search or like on the posting. So for instance, I will get, let's say, 200 applicants for a role. But if they don't have specific keywords, there's software systems, unfortunately, nowadays that will filter out those resumes, and then they won't even get through to the recruiter. So it's just the way the technology works, unfortunately. But your chances of your resume being seen, if you send an email directly to, again, the recruiter, the hiring manager, it's increased drastically, right? So being able to make that direct connection or connect them on LinkedIn, send them a direct message, it always increases that visibility there. So that is your number one key priority to do when applying for jobs, especially if it's a job that looks really exciting to you. Make sure you get that resume in front of the hiring manager. Another one is building out that LinkedIn profile. So again, even if you're not looking, or even if you are, the more active you are on LinkedIn, whether it's connecting with people of interest, liking and sharing posts, your account gets viewed more and comes up higher on activity on LinkedIn recruiters. Recruiters will see your profile and then will reach out to you for roles. So that's the beauty of LinkedIn, is that the more active you are, the more recruiters will see you, and they will actually come to you with jobs as opposed to you needing to seek it out. So utilize LinkedIn as much as possible. It will be your best friend.
And the open to work banner, what's your take on that?
It definitely does help. So when we do a recruiter search, we see who has open to work. So we're much more likely to reach out to you if you're looking for a role, right? So definitely utilize that as well.
Because there's a lot of like back and forth on that, where people say, you should, you shouldn't. It makes you look desperate.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah. So I'm glad we could clear that.
For sure.
Yeah. Going to the next part, and it's about like marketing yourself within this job market, right? So with background in marketing, how do you think job seekers can market themselves effectively to recruiters as well as organizations at large?
So I would say we're going to go back on that personal branding side, right? So a lot of what I pride myself on is, again, building on my career as opposed to building on my job. So looking at other facets and ways that I can get involved in the community, such as this podcast, to really kind of just expand my network and just to meet people of interest and to have meaningful conversations. And the more you do that, you'll see opportunities will cross your desk. So really just working on your personal branding, joining events or communities that are of interest to you, whether you're in environmental sciences or, the public sector or education, whatever it may be. Join groups, network with people, have conversations, even if they're just quick coffee chats. That will allow your name to get out there. That will allow you to learn interesting things and then broaden your horizon. From there, I also say, again, building on that LinkedIn profile, whether it's you're making posts or you're making those connections, continue to do that. And then as well as just reaching out to people of interest. So if you want to one day step into a product manager position for a beauty company. And you see people on LinkedIn, like they're holding exactly that title where I want to be one day. Maybe not today, but one day. Connect with them and say, hey, look, I really like your background. It's very interesting. It's an area where I want to go into. Would you have a quick, 5-10 minutes for a chat? And starting to market yourself that way, and you will see opportunities will start coming into you, or you'll get new ideas of how you could further expand into that industry or into that type of role. So again, it's just thinking more outside the box as opposed to just doing your simple kind of applications, I would say.
Yeah. I think that's really good advice because I think after COVID, for me particularly, I started only going for like virtual events, and I stopped putting that effort into like actually going for in-person events. At that time I had a job and I wasn't really looking, but I just got like really comfortable not stepping out. But I think that is something I need to start focusing on again. Are there any job fairs or networking events in Toronto that you would recommend?
I just want to touch on one thing that you said there is being comfortable. I think that is one of our biggest, downfalls as humans, that we get so comfortable and so satisfied, and we never want to step out of that comfort zone, but that's actually what's going to make us grow. So it's taking that one step and being like, you know what, an in-person event is a little bit scarier, which I have had to do. And I'm like, oh, I'm not sure about this. But in the end, you do grow so much from it. So I wanted to really touch on that. And then events in Toronto, myself and my coworker, we've attended some. It's like a networking for young professionals. That we started to do when we first started at Summit, it was just meeting, other individuals and the same kind of spot as us in our careers, and having just conversations on, what they've done and where they'd like to take their career, and just learning a little bit more about other people. It's again, just nice to have those meaningful conversations. I would say it just depends on your industry. Myself in HR, I've seen a lot of like Disrupt HR. There's like the Toronto Regional Board of Trade, again, more HR focused. But what I tend to do is I just go on Google and I would say, for instance, marketing events in Toronto, and then they come up. Like Eventbrite always has a whole bunch. And again, I know it could be scary stepping into that in-person event, especially if you have no one there, you don't know anyone. It's worth stepping out of your comfort zone, and you're just that one step closer to growing.
Yeah. For me, it's like when I'm there, it's fine, but just getting there with the cold that's what keeps me indoors.
You rip the Band-Aid off. Yeah.
That's what keeps me indoors. Yep. Yeah. Is there any other advice or any other thing that you'd like to say?
I would say, and I just want to again touch on that comfort zone part. I know like sometimes it might be scary reaching out to someone, whether it's on LinkedIn or in person, but it will never be harmful to you to have a conversation with someone. You never know what that conversation what doors might open for you. And it's always good just to learn more, like really focus on continuous learning. That's why I do have my 4 degrees, but look at ways that you can learn from other people or learn from other companies beyond your job. Don't just get so comfortable and settled into your role. Again, keep looking beyond there and look at extra courses maybe that you can take. And again, those events, those groups, be involved in the community because it's going to help you grow and it will present you with opportunity.
On that note, Melanie, I'm going to give you a minute to promote what you do and just promote yourself and everything that you are.
Yeah. So again, as I mentioned at the beginning, I am a recruitment consultant at Summit Search Group. I'm a bilingual recruitment consultant. So I do speak French as well. And my role is mainly, it's connecting candidates with their dream jobs with, their next career step. And I'm always happy to hop on a call with anyone. And whether it's helping navigate your career or even just questions on your resume, or if you're just having no luck in general with your job search, I'm always happy to have those conversations and to share my knowledge and how I can be of help. And I'm maybe that one step that you need to take in order to feel comfortable to do it with someone else. So never be afraid to reach out. I'm available and I'm always happy to help.
Yeah. That is beautiful, and she means it when she says she is available, because I met Melanie with a cold call and she's been just fabulous. And she's agreed to even come and, share her thoughts with all of us here. Big thank you, Melanie. I really, really do appreciate it. And I hope we can help 100 other people on the job search with me. Thank you so much for being here.
And thanks for having me, Kate. It's a pleasure. And I always, again, love sharing my knowledge and love your podcast too. I was listening to videos before. So thank you for involving me and thinking of me.
Anytime. So Melanie, if someone wants to reach out to you, can I just drop your LinkedIn profile in the...
Yeah, absolutely.
Or do you have a
Yep.
website or something that you want?
Yeah, so my LinkedIn profile is great.
It's great. Okay, I'll do that. And yeah, reach out to her. And I hope you have success in your job search as well. Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you.